Alright, so here we are now that everything has dried, and we're gonna get going again here and see if we can get some of these things finished off. So it even looks like Bellicor has dried if I decide to keep going on him at all. Probably won't unless I really need to just wait for some dry time on something. Alright, so let's see, let's set him out of the way so I can see. He's looking really good though. I'm actually really pleased with how he's coming along. Alright, so I need... Yup, I need this. Blood Angels Red. So that's what we got going on. This is going on our horses. So our horses are really down to just a couple of steps left. I'm going to be doing this red. Then we will be doing a go back over any places that shouldn't be the color that they are. Pass, as I like to call it, which there's going to be a lot of those places. And then once we've done that, we'll do a figure wide wash with Nuln Oil. And that should basically finish off the painting part. And then we just move on to basing. As you can see here, so you see where I've got that, I'm putting a really light coat of that Blood Angels red over top of there, and you can see in the recesses there where that Agrax Earthshade pooled a little bit, that creates a little bit of pre-shading. Like the red goes over top of it and tints it, but it looks already shaded. It's a trick I learned many, many years ago from a, back before contrast paint even. From a Space Wolf player that I played against like literally one time. So I do not remember the guy's name, but I remember watching him show somebody else how to paint and him pre-shading a figure with ink and then painting over it with other stuff. And I just remember how good it looked. I remember then trying that out for myself and being elated that it worked exactly the same way that it looked like it worked for him. I was like, dang, this is really a cool and easy technique. And I don't see people talk about it too much when we're talking about good time-saving ways to paint models. Yeah, ugh. Got a little bit of red down there I didn't want, so I used a little bit of water to clean it off, but that's going to be a prime spot for correction later. And I mean, that's why we do that type of pass. Red looks really good on these horses, but I'm going to do a second squad with blue. I don't know how I'm going to paint those Krieg horses when the time comes to do that, but I think those things have a lot of untapped potential. 60 points for a fast little unit of horses with a reactive move. Like, you can really mess somebody's life up with something like that. That's you can mess up their whole like turn one game plan in a big way. I am actually pretty eager to try that, so I'm gonna have to assemble those guys and paint them soon. So I think that could be a good piece of a larger denial based game plan, which I think is truly the ultimate form of what I'll end up doing with the Imperial Guard, unfortunately for me and everybody. In that, I think that that's probably where I'll end up, is a very control-based play style where, like, I'm not going to be making huge scores, but you're not going to be scoring any points as the opponent. Alright, so this could practically be considered done. Like, I have things that I'm going to do on this to fix it and make it better, but literally, I challenge most people to slap this on the table and tell me what's wrong with it. Like, you definitely are not going to be being able to tell from looking at it over YouTube. Like, you might think it's not the best paint job ever, and that's definitely true. But it's battle ready. Like, basically 100%. Like I said, I am going to go back and fix it. I am going to go back and do another layer of wash over it too. And then we got basing to do as well. But once all of that stuff is done, none of that stuff actually takes a heck of a lot of time. Like you're seeing, I just painted all this red on one of these horses and got it from the state it was at a couple of hours ago to battle ready in about 6 minutes. I mean, and prior to that, it was technically battle ready. You could still just slap basing on it, slap it on a tabletop, and call it good. There's been several points during the course of this video where you could easily abandon the process and say, this is good enough for me, and go from there. And that's what everybody has to figure out for themselves, is what is good enough for me. And some people enjoy challenging themselves constantly and getting to be a better painter. I enjoy challenging myself to see how quickly I can get a new army up and running. That's where I like and see the challenge of painting. So, it doesn't have to be you don't have to be competing on a Golden Demon level to want to improve your paint goals. You can choose how you approach that. And like I say, I like to choose paint goals that are a little different than like, oh, I'm going to paint the prettiest figure ever. Because I'm not going to do that. I've devoted so many hours to painting, but I'm not going to devote that many hours to painting a single figure. I've done paint competitions before. I found it tedious and boring. I started to resent the figure I was working on by the time I was done with it. So, you got to decide in this world what are the things that make you happy. And to me, having a fully painted army on the table makes me happy. So, that's the thing that I pursue the ability to do as quickly as possible. So, and that's kind of what has led me here. I like seeing how fast I can paint an army. I like seeing how I can use quick and simple techniques to make something look really good. Like, how can I trick the eye into thinking that I've done more work than I've done on a model? What techniques can I use that are really going to elevate a model in a way that's going to make it look like I put a lot more effort into it than I actually did? that's the kind of stuff that I like to challenge myself with as a painter. Because I'm also mainly a player at heart. Like, I paint as a prerequisite to put models on the table in a tournament setting. You know, and that's why I don't ever judge somebody for telling me stuff. Like, I've heard people tell me literally, I don't paint. And I'm like, okay. And I don't judge that attitude. Like, if you don't want certain experiences out of the game, you don't have to have them. I would say anybody can paint, and anybody can paint to a level that is at least the level that I'm slapping together on the tabletop with just a little bit of effort. So here is horse number 2, all redded up. So took about 5 minutes to do that one, it looks like, based on the timer. So now we move on to horse number 3. So, you know, like I say, for all these horses, if each one of them takes 6 minutes a horse to do this on, that is a total of 30 minutes that it takes to do the red. And you're going to have to leave that to dry. So, you know, if you don't have a boatload of time to expend on painting, that doesn't mean that you can't get it done. It just means you're going to do it in little steps, and it is going to feel like it takes forever, or it can. But, you know, like I say, there's tricks to make this all very easy. I mean, and there is paint schemes that you can do that are even easier than this. I'm going to showcase one at some point. I'm going to do some crazy challenges. So if anybody's watching and is interested in that kind of crap, please tell me what kind of challenges that you would like to see me do, as far as speed painting challenges, as far as volume painting challenges, as far as stuff, because I have some cool ones in mind. Like, I definitely I'm going to show off at some point this really cool concept I've had for a long time that I've wanted to do for a Necron army. I'm going to get a whole Necron army somehow. You know, if you want to contribute to this stupid goal, you know, like and subscribe, support the channel. You know, if you want to, you know, in some other way contribute towards us, you know, we can work something out. I don't know why I did that. Courting controversy, the Italians are going to come after me now. But yeah, I mean, so I'm going to do a whole Necron army, and I have a really cool scheme and a really cool way to do it, and it's going to be so easy. It is literally going to take like no time. Like, I will literally be able to paint a Necron army, potentially 2,000 points of it. I might be able to do it over the course of 12 hours. You know, I don't want to make any ridiculously bold claims, but yeah, I think I can paint 2,000 points of Necrons in the scheme that I'm going to paint them in approximately 12 hours. I think I can do it. I think it is very doable. And I think it's going to look pretty cool, actually, what I'm planning to do. So I think it's going to look pretty unique. So if anybody wants to see that, leave some comments here. You know, we love comments. That's our other metric of engagement. So if you know, want to see something specifically done, want to see a particular technique that I know how to do, or that I don't know how to do, I'm glad to try stuff that I don't know how to do and show you guys how that turns out. I did just, in fact, the other day, try some pigment pencils, some weathering pencils, and yeah, I hated them. I'm not going to say what brand they were in case I get a sponsorship at some point for something, but yeah, I couldn't figure them out. I didn't hate them because they were bad, and that's also part of why I'm not going to say the name of the brand, because I actually think they're quite good. I just literally, like, I looked up some pictures and some techniques of how to use them, and I tried them. The effect was not, it was not. So we got another horse here done right at the 15-minute and 30-second mark there for the video. So, so these are taking about like 5 to 6 minutes a horse, basically, is what I would say to do this red. And we're about down to the point where once I get these last 2 horses down, literally it's just going to be waiting for these suckers to dry, going back, doing the corrections, and then doing that wash, and then I'm going to sit and wait. So next time you see these horses, I will have gone ahead and based them and stuff. Probably I won't really wait and do that off or on stream. I think that's kind of honestly pointless. Unless you guys want to see me just make a mess on stream, which I guess there might be like an audience for, and if there is, let me know, and I'll go ahead and make an OnlyFans. So, I'm gonna tell you the number one thing that makes painting easy. I might not remember if I said this before or not, but I'm gonna say it again. I'll probably say this 1,000 times over the course of any amount of painting videos I do. But the number one thing to do with painting is brush control. That's gonna make it just makes everything a lot easier. Having good brush control, being able to put, which equates to being able to put the brush where you want it to go, being able to put the paint where you want it to go. So if you're able to do those things, like, you make painting look easy, like when you can do that. But the problem is that most people don't have those little fine motor skills keenly developed. You might have your gross motor skills keenly developed, but unless you're like a painter already, or unless you do some other kind of very meticulous technical work, you're not going to have developed these fine little motor skills in your fingers like this. Like, why would you? What is the purpose of that? We don't develop things we don't use. So, as skills you don't use atrophy. And it's the same thing with this. Like, if you aren't doing tiny little muscle motions with your fingers like these all the time, like, of course this is going to feel so difficult. It's going to feel so awkward. So, the thing is, if there's one thing I've learned in this life, it's the truth of some words said by Jake the dog from Adventure Time, which is the first step to being good at something is kind of sucking at something. So, when I first started painting models, my stuff looked absolutely atrocious. It looked so bad. Can't even begin to tell you how awful. Plus it didn't help matters any that I was painting the very first Warhammer models I got with Tester's enamel car paint. So that stuff is thick, it's shiny, it dries slow. It is not the stuff you want to paint models with. So that was the stuff I painted the very, very first models I ever had with, was that garbage. So again, let me see. Another horse, redded up, and that's taken approximately 19 minutes and 30 seconds. So again, keeping right on track for about that 5 to 6 minute time frame on getting these horses to this level. Okay. But to continue my little story here, my little story time. Little story time, Roni. The first models I painted looked absolutely garbage. and it did not make me want to continue to paint initially. But I soldiered on. I found some good guides, some good tutorials for some ways to paint, and I tried out different ways to paint. I learned some stuff about that, and I just kept working at it, and over time it miraculously just became easier. My stuff looked better, and I was like, oh, it must be all these techniques. No, it's really not all the techniques. Because like I say, I'm kind of using the anti-technique painting method here. I'm just literally putting paint straight out of a bottle onto a figure. It's probably, if anybody who's actually a good painter watches this, it probably drives them insane. I promise this is not rage bait. This is actually the way I paint. But I mean, that's kind of the thing, is that really, you know, my point here is that it was just practice that makes perfect. It's being able to get the paint in the area of the model that you want. Like, there are 1,000 ways to paint any given thing. I took oil painting lessons when I was a teenager, which probably sounds like a super bougie thing to do, but I took it in like somebody's grandma's basement from some old lady who, I don't know what her credentials were to teach oil painting, to be honest. But it was a good experience. It taught me a lot about how to make pigments do what I wanted them to do, how to use brushes, and it was like wholly freaking inapplicable whenever I started learning how to paint models. Like, it meant I knew what paint was, it meant I knew what a brush was, but it did not help, it did not prepare me for the reality of painting a miniature. It's so much different to paint a miniature than it is to paint a two-dimensional thing. Truly different. And I don't know that I can even easily articulate everything that is different about it. But I mean, I'm sure that any of you who've ever put brush to model and also have put like pen to paper or pencil to paper or paintbrush to paper or canvas kind of know the feeling. It just feels so different. Like, you just, the three-dimensional space alone, the fact that you have recessed areas and upper areas, those things alone just make a huge difference. All right, so now we've got all that, and we are at 23 minutes precisely. Okay, so that, I mean, that still boils down to, I mean, a little less than 5 minutes a model. Pretty reasonable, I think. Okay, so we like that. All right, let's do these hazard stripes. So here's how it dried too. Looks mottled, dirty, weathered. That's the point. Now, if you don't like that look, you can go back and do like a light layer of yellow back over that again, or you could just not do the wash that I did in particular. So let's see, we want to go from there to there, I think, which there, yeah. Okay. So my first step when I choose to do hazard stripes, I choose some reference points to go from. So here I'm going to go from this place right here up to right here. That's my first cut. Okay. So now I'm just going to do a line. Okay. And I'm going to go over, pick another reference point, and another one that's parallel lines up. And I'm going to do my second line. Okay. So now I know that that's So the other thing I'm doing is I'm taking and I'm lining the top part of this where I have done definitely some overpaint there with the yellow. As I'm doing these. So I'm blocking out my areas that are going to now be my black hazard stripes. So now you can see, starting to get that hazard stripe pattern. So you can see there now, I don't like it, how it turned out. Feel like it's really crookedy, but you know, I'm gonna do some battle damage stuff on it, so that'll probably turn out looking okay. Alright, so then we'll do the other one. So we're gonna do, just literally gonna go in the opposite direction. And again, like I say, I want to make sure I'm getting any place on the edges that I've overpainted, because we can go back and fix some of that stuff here in a minute. So plus it's just going to add to the definition and contrast of that yellow and black vibe. So yeah, those look very crooked. I'm not really super pleased with how those turn out, but it's okay, because we're gonna go ahead and fuck them up anyways. So. So now they're a little messed up. So now definitely have that hoof place. Great. Right there. Looks pretty reasonable there. So now we're gonna fix up his little pouches here. Which gives a little contrast across the body. And now you see what truly looks to be an almost completed horse. Crazy, right? Freaking crazy. Alright, so then go in here and fix this one up. And I mean, I just know a couple of points or a couple of places at this point that are basically the places that where I do overpaints, like where that happened. Place there where I didn't get. I'll have to come back to that in a minute. I didn't get that at all. That is awesome. I missed that at like every turn for like several coats, and this is why this method works so good, is because I don't miss stuff when I'm painting so many parts of the model so many times. So as you paint and use these kind of methods, you'll kind of learn what spots that you find that you overpaint on models, like, or where you find that you miss spots on models. And you'll know where to check. You'll start to get this sixth sense for it. It's kind of fun. Oh my god. I'm really stupid. Alright, that's fine. We're just fixing mistakes right now, and then we're going to come back and do their little pouches. Because I forgot to do everybody but the first guy. I got so stoked. Okay, so everybody is good now, except for we gotta do their pouches. Okay, he's just got grenades. And a couple pouches there. Okay. And now these guys are really starting to look almost done. Alright, beautiful. Okay. One guy's missing the back of his sleeve, so. Okay. Alright, so that's fixed. So now basically I'm just waiting for them to be completely dry from everything I just did. I don't know how I just did that I just did. That's cool. But I'm waiting for them to be completely dry from everything I just did, so then I can give them a wash of Nolan oil, and they'll be up to the point where all my other guys are, with the exception of basing material. So they're basically done, because it'll basically be wash of Nolan oil and then basing material. And like I said, I'm probably not going to show that off because that just doesn't take very long. It's not very exciting. So, alright, so here's what we do with our hellhound. Okay, so you can see I've kind of done some battle damage in there. I'll probably do a little bit more in some places. Just to showcase that this is a heavily shot at vehicle there. So now it looks like that the paint has kind of come off, and it'll look even better when that's actually like dried. And just kind of do places where you think it would make sense to have some problems in the paint. Or it would be going down to the bare metal. And so then you see that's what we have. Oh no. Somehow got a big old smudge of yellow over there. Uh-oh, so we're gonna have to fix that now. How fun. Alright. Well, there's gonna be an easy fix for this. Which is just gonna be to take one of these utility brushes, take a little bit of Iron Warriors, and just kinda pseudo dry brush it away. And you can see it's gone now. So again, there's no mistakes you can make that can't be fixed. So this is what our end result is here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Full finishing all touches. And that guy's basically done. So that's that. So now we are just literally waiting, like I say, to see if I can wash these horses for us. If they're going to dry enough for me to do that, or if they're not going to do that. And I'm going to be honest, I just think they're not going to. So, you know, so basically, like I say, what we will see though, okay, so, you know, the end result is going to look like that, you know. So that's after I've just done a wash of Nuln Oil and slapped some basing material on the base. So the next real step is to put some snow on that base and put some flowers on that base, and then go back around and re-rim the edge of that base in black after I've done all of that, so that everything looks really neat and tidy. So anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and call that good on these, and I will do the rest of those couple steps off stream, because they're not exciting to watch, and so I will be back to do, I guess, maybe some building next. So I'll just go ahead and pan the camera over to show what all I have ready for some building here. Yeah, I got that whole stack there, which is 2 sets of Rough Riders, 2 sets of two and 2/3 sets of Bold Grins, Tempestus 2 sets of Tempestus Aquilons, 2 Death Corps of Creed, and 2 of the Death Riders. So I'll probably build all those on stream 2. Talk about stuff as I'm building them, potentially, and I'll go ahead, once ever I get back on here to do that, I'll show you guys the end result of what we have all painted for the Imperial Guard currently. Now that you've seen the process of how we get to a nice looking, tank. How we get to some nice looking riders. So the next thing is to show you guys the process of how do I crank out a metric ton of infantry. So the answer may not surprise you. It is basically the exact same process that we are doing for this. So get ready and elated to see me do the same kind of stuff over and over again. I promise I will eventually do different things. But I will basically, like I say, I'm going to go ahead and crank out some building stuff so you guys can see the cool things that I've built, and then, or that I get to build, and then we'll go ahead and crank all of that out very quickly paint style wise, so you can see how you can very quickly and easily get a huge amount of infantry on the table. So I'm going to show off some ways to do all of that stuff, make it super easy for everybody, so that everybody can enjoy the fruits of my 20 years of learning how to speed paint. So if you guys like this, again, please, even if I'm not live, leave comments, like, and subscribe. Like I say, we're going to go ahead and keep creating some other cool stuff here to show what we got. All right. So anyways, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.